Today at Rose Hill Gardens we're going to spend a little time talking about mid-season iris care. We're going to have a little demonstration also. The tools we need today are pretty basic. We're going to be working with the head shears to cut back the foliage, pruners to do some fine tuning, a sharp knife to do some separating and division, and a shovel for our digging. Okay, the proper time to actually do this cleanup and division is approximately 4 weeks after the bloom has ended. Up here that's usually in mid-July, actually in the heat of summer, which is an unusual time to be dividing perennials, but the iris, that's actually the prime time to do that. And we will accomplish that now by starting to clip back our foliage. And now our clump is ready to be dug out. We come out a little ways from the root system to preserve whatever roots we can here. Normally the clumps will lift out as an entire unit. Sometimes they'll separate a little bit. And a lot of this dirt can just be removed by shaking here. A lot of times the plant will just naturally divide, as you can see here, without much effort. As we look at our divisions, several of them also have the part of the stalk from the bloom of this year. Now these rhizomes generally will not rebloom again, so these particular pieces are useless and we're going to just discard that and not replant. And now we have a planting size division here. The rhizome here, where it's been cut and broken off from the plant, is always subject to possible disease and rot a little bit. And to help prevent that, it's not a bad idea to soak these rhizomes in a solution of like 10% bleach and water for a couple of hours. You could leave that overnight if you'd like to. As far as the soil type goes, the soil does not need to be extremely fertile. However, it does need to drain well. That's very important, especially soil that drains well in spring. Standing water that time of the year is a disaster for the rhizomes. Oftentimes they'll rot. If we did have a very heavy soil to work with here, such as clay, we'd probably want to amend that at this time with perhaps some compost or some peat moss to loosen it up somewhat. The planting depth is very important with iris. Too deep, the plant can rot and not bloom. Too shallow, it actually could tip over, become top heavy and flip just at the time of the year where the flower is developing. Very disappointing. So what we really want to do is get these roots straight down and to have our soil surface come up to about halfway up that rhizome. So we'll set that in place, bring our soil back in around it. And we want to firm that soil down, and the plant's going to want to sink during that process. So a lot of times I want to kind of hold that in place where we want that to be. Firm the soil in around it, so when we're done, we're looking at just the top surface of that rhizome being exposed, and it's highly likely that this will be a blooming plant next season, possibly 3 blooming stalks on a plant like this. Okay, we have other options too. Maybe you didn't have an iris that needed division, or you have no iris at all and want to put one in the garden. That can be done in midsummer also. At Rose Hill Gardens we offer several hundred pots of iris. An example of one here, we have about 8 different cultivars to offer you. And I'm just going to show you the procedure to put that in the ground at this time. In this situation now where we're planting a potted iris, our hole basically just needs to match the size of the pot here. So we'll dig our hole for that. As you can see, it's well rooted. None of the soil is going to fall away here. It's quite packed here with roots, And just to help that plant spread out a little bit quicker, we want to loosen up that soil ball a little bit. It's not going to really set the plant back much. Pull a little soil away from the top here. And we're ready to plant this now. So we'll set that down in the hole. There again, we want to match that right exactly with the depth it was in the pot. Pack that firmly around the soil ball. And that's all there's to it. This one, as long as the foliage is good, can be left as it is for the rest of the summer. One of our favorite irises here at Rose Hill Gardens is the variegated iris. This also is a bearded iris. The flower itself is maybe not as spectacular as some of these large bearded types. However, when the flower is done, you have tremendous foliage interest for the rest of the season. We invite you to stop out anytime during the season to see our iris display. However, peak bloom time for the bearded iris is late May into mid-June. But we also carry a large selection of the iris in pots, and they're available throughout the growing season here at Rose Hill. And you can stop in any time. We'll show you our iris, and we can answer any questions for you at that time.